Republican Party fighting its introduction. Now it is time for our newspaper review. What is making headlines around the world? Sally?
OK, well, let's start with the international New York Times. Looking at the success of France's National Front in local elections, the paper credits a rebranding by the far-right party's leader.
Moscow Times reports a mostly tongue-in-cheek campaign to retake a claim of Alaska building, it says, in Russia. Russia, it's worth pointing out, sold Alaska to the United States in 1867. I think it was Tsar Nicholas, wasn't it, for $7.2 million.
That's an interesting one. Now let's have a look at the Financial Times. Claims the former president of China's urging the current leadership there to rein in its anti-corruption campaign, warning his successor not to take on too many of the powerful elite.
We're discussing that in a moment. The Independent reports on Britain's bungled sell-off of Royal Mail, undervaluing Britain's postal service cost the taxpayer, well, £750 million. Other papers are reporting £1 billion, and one parliamentary committee described Vince Cable's department as clueless.
Now, maybe you find it tough to eat your 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. Well, apparently that is not enough. You've got to up it to 7, according to the latest research, which is in today's Guardian. It's from the University College of London. The daily portions would save more lives, so it says.
And the Japan Times has the news that scientists have developed scent alerts for stations on Tokyo's subway. Now, if things go to plan, all 30 stations will have individual smells to alert passengers to the fact they've arrived. We thought about doing something similar here with studios, just so you know where you are, but I'd forgotten the date. Yeah.
Already a lot of individual smells on the London Underground, I might say, but anyway.
House of Lords.
Why you have to create them? We're already creating them.
House of Lords apparently has a terrible smell, because apparently when people wearing tweed jackets and they get wet, the colours are made fast by soaking them in urine.
There you go. You see, I didn't know that yesterday.
On that note, Cornelia, Meyer, CEO of MRL.
Good morning, Cornelia.
Good morning.
Not in tweed.
April the 1st. Beautiful jacket, not tweed, as you say. Should we start with the far-right rebrand pays off? Marine Le Pen, daughter of Jean-Marie Le Pen, anti-Semitic, but a rebranding of her party, an amazing success in the last election.
She's an amazing success, and I actually think it's very, very dangerous. You see, she's rebranded it. She goes and speaks to refugees and seems to be human. Her father never seemed to be human. But the party is maybe less anti-Semitic now. It's very anti-Muslim. It's very anti-immigrant. But you know, there's a whole wave of anti-immigrant sentiment going through Europe. We saw it with the Swiss.
And you've got 2 mayors now from National in Fréjus and somewhere else,
in
actually.
Perpignan, I think. In Perpignan. So you see 2 mayors. So she's gaining credibility, and you saw swift reaction from President Hollande, who had Mr. Valls. Manuel Valls is now the new prime minister, who is Spanish-born and quite the most right-wing of the socialists. He even wanted to drop the word socialist out of the party.
And very outspoken against the Roma, for example.
No, he kicked a lot of them out, actually. Quite
It'll be
tough.
interesting to see how it all plays out. Obviously, the European elections are not far away at all. So
yes.
An interesting one where the article saying they're becoming more of a central player, that particular party.
And I think they are, and exactly the European elections are to watch. But you know, the European elections, some of these parties do well. Look at UKIP, our quite right-wing party here in the UK.
It's being felt in many countries in Europe right now.
Well, some people predicting that UKIP might even, top the poll. Right, here we go. Moscow Times.
Moscow Times, yeah, got a very interesting article about how close Russia is to Alaska and the history of the sale of Alaska to the United States. It even mentions Sarah Palin in the article, the former governor of Alaska.
Who could see Russia from the front part?
Yeah, exactly. It's an interesting article. It's a colourful one, isn't it?
It's a colourful. Well, it is 1st of April, first of all. We have to understand that. But it is an article, Tsar Nicholas II did sell it for $7-point-something million. Which
is actually quite a sizable sum, wasn't it, back in 1867?
Yes, but if we think of all the oil and gas there, I think we shouldn't worry too much about Royal Mail and being shortchanged.
But anyway, I mean, what's interesting about this, April the 1st, as you say, April Fool's Day, but just a sort of kernel of potential sort of historical fact and truth in that, even though it's a...
I especially like the fact that they just sort of, apparently they dressed up some penguins as pro-Putin penguins, although they're only on the South Pole, so never mind.
Tell us what you make of this story. Very interesting. Front page of the FT. Former Chinese President Jiang Zemin urging the current leadership to rein in the toughest anti-corruption campaign in decades. Give us your take on this. This is not what you expect to be said in public, is it?
No, but it's Hu Jintao, the just previous president, also said, you know, you're going too far. You should not stop, but you're going too far. It shows that, A, they're worried about themselves, probably. They're probably worried about their entourage. And they're worried about the status of the Communist Party, because the Communist Party is the ruling elite, so they are the main culprits.
But what message does this send to sort of normal Chinese workers, I mean, who are really very concerned about corruption at upper levels? If you've got a senior politician saying, rein in a little bit, I mean, that's not a message that...
But we're talking about paternalistic sort of feudal systems. It may be communist, but it is the Asian sort of paternalistic feudal system. And as we spoke earlier, I sort of have one little parallel. There was a South Korean president, Kim Il-sung, who put all of his predecessors essentially into jail because they had been corrupt. And that created quite a stir, but it did a lot to get rid of some, not of all of the corruption, some of the corruption in South Korea.
Independent and other newspapers in the UK have Royal Mail, Wang Bam on the front page. Royal Mail float how banks broke promises and raked in a fortune. Obviously, this was a big discussion point at the time of the flotation of Royal Mail, but it's not gone away.
It's not gone away because the bank said there were some specific investors that had the gentleman's agreement to buy the shares and then hold them for some time, and they turned around very quickly. But you know, when it comes to money, there's no such thing as a gentleman's agreement.
No, but I mean, it's called stagging, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you're selling these shares off very, very quickly. But if you look at some of the pension firms that took these shares, they've sold 70% off. I mean, was there anything in writing saying they had to hang on to these shares for a while?
As far as I know, not. But I'm not that familiar with it. But, you know, it was a gentleman's agreement. But again, when it comes to money, there's no such thing as a gentleman, is there?
Now, whether you're a gentleman or a lady, 5 fruit and veg a day is not enough. You need another 2 to add on to that. What do you think about this, Cornelia? Is it just another health story that we get every single day telling us what to do and what we shouldn't do?
But there was, on the continent of Europe, there was a story that we actually don't need to eat that much fruit and vegetable. As we always get these health stories, the best thing is still a balanced diet.
Actually,
absolutely. Sorry, I laugh. It's just it comes down to that, doesn't it?
Black coffee, isn't it?
The least common of all things, common sense, should prevail.
But also saying that tinned fruit and vegetables can be actually sort of deleterious for your health.
But I actually heard something to the contrary of that. I heard something to the contrary of that. So who knows?
Take it or leave it. You know, I'm not sure what's true and what isn't true anymore on 1st of April.
Just enjoy your food.
Okay.
Talking of which, the Japan Times. It's all about how, you know, the smell will alert you to which station to get off at.
Yeah, it's again wonderful. It's April Fool's Day, but the thing is, I would love to see. I've lived, as you know, 9 years in Japan.
You know it well.
And if you are on they talk about the Yamanote-sen, the ring around. Well, if you're there on a really hot summer day, I can tell you, you will not smell any smells.
But actually, what
because manufactured smells.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, but surely, you know, just
au
a
naturel
little sort
of
lotus flower just wafting through would be rather nice, wouldn't it?
That'd be very nice. Just
if you can smell it above human smell.
If you're a fully packed carriage, you won't smell it. But it's a nice thought.
Yeah, God, the Tokyo subway is something else, isn't it? Lovely to see you, Cornelia. Thank you very much indeed for taking us through your choice of all the international papers.
And thank you for your company.